GSL Season 2.
Hello, welcome back, everybody. Solar and GuMiho coming up next. Man, that was a short series. Classic versus Zoun. Zoun just dominating and moving on to the round of 8.
Yeah, Classic trying some tricky tactics in Game 1 and in Game 2, and Zoun just perfectly parrying both builds. Even by PvP standards, that was one of the faster series you're ever going to see. And so now, Zoun, the first player advancing, and that means one of Solar, GuMiho, and Classic will remain in the round of 8. But first, we're going to have to eliminate one of these players, Solar or GuMiho, battling out in a best of 3. And I really don't know what this series is going to look like, especially on GuMiho's side of things. This is a player who loves to mix in mech builds, loves to play really off the beaten path in terms of TVZ. I'm expecting it to be over relatively quickly just because I feel like that's usually the way the GuMiho's games go, whether he wins or loses. I feel like his tactics are kind of, they're so obscure that usually just creates these really big differences between where both players are at, and that just leads to one player falling earlier than you might expect. But it'll be fun to watch Solar trying to deal with whatever it is GuMiho has cooked up.
Yeah, I do think Solar a little bit favored here. But let's see what GuMiho does. GuMiho, I think, honestly had some bad ideas in the TVP that we saw. Like, just didn't, I don't know. I mean, you know, definitely a kind of GuMiho look where it's like, 3 Marauder drop. I'm like, all right, well, you're the only guy who's going to do that, you know? But, you know, he's got a decent TVZ. He always has. We'll see if he goes mech or not, and whether it's battle mech or not. Anyways, guys, this game has loaded up. Solar versus GuMiho, a fight to survive in this GSL.
All right, Solar spawning in the top right as the blue Zerg. GuMiho, the red Terran, in the bottom left. One of these players is going to be eliminated from GSL right now. One of them will be advancing to face Classic, of all people, the final match of Group B.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. GuMiho, by the way, I thought he looked fine last year. It's interesting to see he's kind of been struggling this time around. Okay, so yeah, let's see what kind of TVZ we're going to have. GuMiho going to go with the Barracks. No CC first this time around.
Yeah, Barracks on the high ground as well, so no Byunwall in with early Reapers here from GuMiho. And mostly in this early game, I'll be watching the production tab to see what it is that GuMiho is going to be going for. So far, it seems like about as standard as you possibly can. Just a one-gas opening here, likely leading into the command center. But once the factory gets started, I feel like that's usually when you see GuMiho really start to widen the breadth of what he's capable of in terms of different build orders. Like in game number 1, going for, after the factory, 3 Marauders and trying to drop those with the medevac. I kind of almost wish that we get a GuMiho versus Classic match coming in here, just so we can see GuMiho dip back into the well for that build again. Because I wanna see the 3 Marauder build play out in a successful way. I'm not sure what it was angling up for.
Yeah,
you know?
it just seems like it's set up to punish something, and I didn't understand what it was. And look, that happens sometimes. Sometimes you think you've got a read on a game, and you're trying to do something, and you're like, oh, well, this is, never mind. You know, now we're in a very, very weird position. So, you know, from what we've seen here, TVZ, by the way, can go on for a long time. Again, I don't know if GuMiho's going to bring us that kind of game. If you're going to get a long, long game, both players have to kind of commit to it, right? Solar in general has also been a pretty active player. You know, he likes to take fights here. We are seeing the real emergence of popularity of Ro.12 into Ultralisk tech, into like Ultralisk armor. Basically, it's like a base buster. You kind of, even if Terran's trying to just turtle and go for exhaust play, you kind of crack him open. And we'll see if that happens this time around. But, you know, Solar, again, he's I guess I'm more thinking of Shin for doing this, but Solar's always liked to go Ro.12 against Terran.
Yeah, Solar's another one of these certain players who loves to get aggressive in the early and mid game, and he certainly is capable of playing a late game should GuMiho try to go for the exhaust style. I just don't feel like that's the direction GuMiho will take the game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine being wrong with it if that's the case, but yeah, I kind of agree with you. I'm like, I don't think he's going to do that. And certainly, you know, they you know, the series we saw that he played earlier in the TVP. Like he really kind of wanted to end it.
All right, we have a 4 Marine move out coming in here by GuMiho.
Yeah, and the Lair and the Roach Warren have started. This is before the 3rd hatchery, so that's a very early Roach Warren. We could see if it's going to be, you know, like 7 Roach, you know, rush to come in here and kill SCVs and kind of slow the Terran down, or is it going to be full-on Roach Ravager? He's going to get 2 more gases.
Yeah, might even take the 3rd gas in the main base pretty soon here. It's interesting that we're seeing a lot more 2-base Lair play in TVZ here in the GSL.
Yeah, no, it's become a lot more popular.
All right, 6 Marines now showing up in the natural expansion. Kind of a funny timing, and this is catching Solar massively off guard. The first Queen very low on HP right now. The Hellions are likely going to go to the top side and try and clean that up.
The thing is, he hasn't actually lost anything yet. Like, his control's been so good. He's killed 3 drones. I almost can't even believe how few drones have been killed. Now, I think the damage is going to finally pile on here.
I mean, it's only been 4 drones, but how many Queens have fallen? At least 2 of them already. This one's deep in the red. I think this is a very good trade here for GuMiho. And these units are almost a throwaway number of units, right? It was 6 Marines and 2 Hellions heading there into the natural expansion. They got a lot of value done.
Yeah, unusual timing there for sure. Hitting pretty hard. We've got the Viking out. This is just to clear the Overlords and basically darken the map here for the Zerg. Zerg, by the way, not on 3 bases still. Kind of recuperating after that attack came in there and did that damage.
Oh, and Overlord speed is getting researched. I wonder if we might have Queens getting shuttled over to the Terran base with a ton of roaches. It seems like that's the play.
Yeah, I think he's just going to do a 2-base timing.
Now, the Viking is really good versus this because I suppose you could just be using Overlord speed to try and keep your Overlord safe from the Viking, but no, there it is. Drop Overlord getting morphed in right now. Where is that drop Overlord morphing in? Okay, right in the front. I don't think the Viking actually caught a glimpse of that, so GuMiho might still be in the dark about what the build is. But the Viking is one of these units that it should catch wind very quickly of what Solar is going for, and it might even put a timer on this Overlord with the 2 Queens in it. Although GuMiho, I'm not sure he's aware just yet, Tasteless.
Yeah, God, I mean, if he was, he'd have 2 more bunkers making. How is it possible this is being thread? Okay, so now he should know. Okay, so he's going to start the depot wall. Oh my God. Okay, I think he could actually bring this even closer, the Queens over here. He might have unloaded that a little bit too soon. Nice shutdown of the counter.
Hellions trying to find some damage in the main base, but the main story is going to be the push coming into the natural expansion here of GuMiho. 1 more Ravager morphing in here on the front line. GuMiho repositioned the siege tank to the back line to provide a little bit more distance. So in the biles.
Tank placement's probably the most important part of this. You want to have the tank be able to hit the Ravager, and the Ravager can't bile the tank. It's 3 biles to kill a tank. And so there's kind of this zoning play. I love the gooping on the factory. That is exactly what you want to do. And I mean, he's making drones back at home, so I think he's going to have to try to go for it. Is he going to not go for it? Has he decided this is just not enough?
I think the defensive positioning of GuMiho is just a little bit too good.
Honestly, I respect this. I think I mean, you know, even though the rush has basically failed, he's like, well, I'm not going to just throw my units away. Let's try to make this work. It also slows down taking the 3rd base, which is pretty good. The Queens are still in the drop Overlord.
Solar's still trying to spread creep with them, which is a very funny little interaction, but I'm a little bit worried about this upcoming timing here for GuMiho. I feel like Solar, you know, you invest so much army early and then you make a big transition, adding in a lot of drones, going for a hive tech, adding in investors, and now you're a little bit vulnerable to the counterpunch coming in by GuMiho.
Okay, he's going to come in here. And I'm not sure if Solar's going to survive this either. This is looking pretty rough. Remember, the 3rd base only just started to kick in, right? There's not enough Ravagers to bile the tanks down either. I think this could end. Now, GuMiho's got to be careful. He did this in the previous game where he gets way too far away from his tanks. But I guess if you don't go for the tanks at all, it doesn't really matter.
Mongol's connect, but there isn't a lot of units on the ground here for Solar to capitalize on it. The siege tank's actually unsieged, cleaning up the Queens and the Roaches. Get entrenched again. This 3rd base is certainly going to fall, I think. I mean, maybe Solar can trickle out enough units, but no. GG is called. GuMiho winning game number 1. really a nice hold of Solar's attempted push.
Yeah, well, whether he went for it or not, like that's just like if you again, I said earlier, and I did mean it. Like I respect him not going in because he's like, oh, I'm just not. This is not going to work. But like, you're still probably boned. You're still. You can't invest in drop, fly queens across the map after losing a couple drones and queens, and then like, go be like, all right, macro game.
Yeah, the way that you switched gears and just immediately made a bunch of drones, threw down the infestation pit, started a hive, and was likely going to be trying to rush out Ultralisks. GuMiho was a little bit too robust for that. The counterpunch was enough to just sever the position of Solar so quickly. The third hatch falls. GuMiho takes game number 1. And kind of an interesting way, too. I mean, I'm thinking back to the, 6 or 8 Marines, the 2 Hellions, where GuMiho pushed out super early onto the natural expansion of Solar. I feel like that was a big momentum-building move here for GuMiho. I wonder if he's going to have another trick like that in map number 2, as Mothership is loading in. The only 3-player map that we have here in the GSL Code S pool, as Solar is fighting for his life.
Yeah, I hope Solar can bring a better game here. He's basically just been like trafficking queens over to the other side of the map with timing attacks and then failing. Like, he's had a really rough go of things. GuMiho's little kind of awkward timing actually working out really nicely, kind of getting in there and getting some damage done. I thought Solar's control, by the way, was god tier while he was trying to fight it. I think a lot of players would have lost a lot more. Anyways, we're going to be on the map Mothership for this game. GuMiho, bringing the aggro and making it work. I get a little bit scared, by the way. I've noticed this with GuMiho. He seems to be way all over the place with his pushes. He like sieges up and then runs away from his tanks. And I do feel like if you're going to, a better Terran player everything kind of expands and collapses together in a push. You got to know how to push out, stim, hit stuff, and then the moment they get close to you, run back. But he seemed to kind of, and the reality is it didn't matter, by the way, because Solar was so behind. Like, he's going to die to the push no matter what. But his pushes have seemed sloppy. In the TVPs, he kind of like YOLO'd onto the Nexus and didn't protect his tanks. And he sort of did that with Solar again. And the only reason why I'm bringing it up is, like, if Solar plays a normal game where he's more viable to hold a push, I'm wondering if GuMiho can actually make it work.
Yeah, GuMiho's been very aggressive with the bio portion of his siege tank pushes, both in the TVPs that he played and the TVCs. So it is something to look out for here in game number 2. As we might eventually culminate in something like that later on. Anyway, here in the early game, GuMiho is going for a command center first opening, and Solar actually going to get the first scout on this with the Overlords. So, bit of fortunate scouting pattern here with the Overlords for Solar.
Yeah, this is our only 3 spawn map. I'm glad we have this in the pool. I feel like for a long time we only had 2 spawn maps, and I'm like, let's get it a little bit weirder. You know what I mean? I also wanted to put this idea out for the whole StarCraft scene to think about. Do we want to have maps where there's less buildable terrain on it to make proxies harder, or not?
Yeah.
Even if it was like 20% more, or 20% more unbuildable terrain.
Maybe. It's always... I tried playing Brood War some time ago, and that was one of the most unintuitive things for me as a new player to come in and be like, I'm going to proxy gateway over here, ha ha ha, and then I can't build a gateway.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest feeling.
I only thought about this because I'm casting ASL and GSL and RSL at the same time, and I was like, oh yeah, you can build anywhere in StarCraft 2, basically. StarCraft 1, like, you can build in some places, but like you have to know where it is, and like there's places people can check for it. And you can still hide a bait. They can still check for something, and you hide it in like a better hiding spot, you know? Yeah, I just wanted to put that idea out there. Would that make it more interesting? Would it make it less interesting?
I've even seen some discussion. I'm not sure if it was actually map makers having this discussion, or if it was mostly community members, but particularly when Zerg isn't doing well in the pool, I've seen chats about whether there should be like a neutral creep tumor somewhere on the map or something like that. Which is kind of an interesting idea. I
think any of these ideas are worth trying, right?
I'm all in favor of maps getting more and more weird as StarCraft 2 gets on. I already like the addition of worker-only paths that we've had in StarCraft 2 recently. The healing zones, I'm not as big a fan of the healing zones, but they've led to some pretty funny situations, so. It does feel like map makers keep getting better. I will say that. The map pool nowadays, I mean, it's just eons ahead of what we had years ago, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the best part about RTS is the fact that we can make crazy stuff with the maps. Even doing, you know, I like crazy stuff. I also just like, you know, like for instance, this is a 3-player map. That's great. Or, you know, this map, it's got more narrow areas. Or this one, it's more wide open, you know. And it's why the game can always stay fresh, you know. And if we think there's like some problem with the matchups or some problem with the game, okay, well, let's reconfigure the base layouts or how far apart you are or how close you are, whatever it is. By the way, this game, a lot more in the realm of standard. It's going to be a 3rd command center landing very quickly, by the way, into standard bio. Although there is going to be a Banshee tech in here after the Raven, by the way. Raven into Banshee tech.
Yeah, it's been about as quiet a game as you could possibly get here in the early stages. CC first, adding in a bunch of Hellions here as GuMiho, and now he's developing more normally with the added engineering base, more barracks coming through. And GuMiho's also been very passive with these Hellions. He hasn't yet tried to move out on the map to find damage, although now with a Raven out, I would be surprised if he didn't at least try to clean up some of this creep, which Solar's been spreading in the center. And then on Solar's side of things, the Spire just finished up. Or excuse me, the lair just finished up, and we are starting a Spire. So we're going towards a Mutiling Bane style here for Solar. The players are beginning their first meaningful interactions here in the center of the map. So GuMiho able to snipe out at least one of those tumors. But the Spire might catch him off guard. The barracks are coming online very late here for GuMiho. It's currently only 5 Marines. So you have to be a little bit careful about this position here as Terran. You know, Hellions, Banshees, these are units that are not going to fare very well versus the first flock of mutas.
Yeah, the whole Terran core army starts up a little bit later because you invest in the Hellions, because you went for the Raven, as well as the Banshee. You know, there is something to, I don't think I've talked about this in a while, but like, coming in with Banshees later, where like you're like, oh, well, we're past the point where this would happen, right? And hitting in a moment where like, you know, the player's completely unprepared. By the way, expansion layout for Zerg on this map, you can always expand towards the other main, and it's pretty hard for Terran to push. This is actually kind of a sucky map for Terran when it comes time to push. You know, you eventually want to have a target that's easier to hit.
Yeah, there's also a lot of attack paths at the center, which makes it easier for Zerg to try and find angles where they can get a flank set up. And also makes this Mutiling Bailing style quite popular. We've seen a couple of games with this style deployed here on Mothership so far in this GSL Code S and last season. So now the first mutas are out. We have 8 of them on the top side of the map. I'm not sure if more are getting added in just now, or if instead Solar is focusing on getting Banelings and Lings out to deal with the Hellions attacks. And this is the first time GuMiho is getting a good look at the mutas. He catches them right before they head into the natural expansion. Now a lot of SCVs are falling. 1-1 will finish here for GuMiho. That's going to assist these Marines, which so far don't even have combat shields ready. So they're quite low on HP, actually, with a second stim.
Yeah, gotta be careful. He is gonna drive the mutas out. All the upgrades are gonna finish over here. I love the pickup. Oh my God, he's gonna run with the Hellions. Nice. I don't know about the auto turret, but that was pretty good. I mean, he didn't lose anything.
Well done by GuMiho holding on. Honestly, the first flock getting just 9 SCV kills, it might seem like a lot of SCVs because it kind of is, but the fact that this came in blind to GuMiho and he only lost 9, I think is a very good thing right now for his position.
By the way, the push is going to come out. The Banelings were softened up. I don't know about the second auto turret there either. I don't know about this. I feel like this, we'll see if it impacts this at all. By the way, Terran pushes here. He's morphing more Banes. He's going to scan and see that. Does he try to push into the Banes or not? All right, here we go. Oh my God, GuMiho, why are you not microing? All right. The hatchery goes down.
Fifth hatchery going to fall here for Solar. Mutas look to see if they can find any of these reinforcements to catch, and then think better of it. They're going to be rejoining the forces here for Solar. And fortunately for Solar, these rocks are still standing in front of the 5th base. His Lings actually didn't get to work on this earlier, so it's very difficult to dislodge GuMiho from this position. Solar was kind of waiting until GuMiho walks back himself.
The reinforcements haven't come yet. Zerg has to decide, do I hit this now? By the way, Terran's trying to get back home, which I think is probably a smart move, but I don't know that he's going to get away with it. He picks him up like Bunny would do. And I got to say, that was a big win. That was a big W there for Terran. He got in and he literally got back out. Very rare to see that ever. And, you know, again, it's 3 base to 4 base. Zerg has not gotten that critical 5th base up that really kind of powers your late game. As long as Zerg is on 4 bases, they're not really where they need to be yet.
And GuMiho, I think, is still ramping up to go for another push. He's just being very careful about the way he gets there. I don't even think we have a 4th command center for Terran just yet, unless I'm mistaken. I think this is a proper 8-Rax build coming in from GuMiho. He's trying to end the game as quickly as possible. And so GuMiho right now, he has 1 force in the center of the map, and then the reinforcements have been accumulating here in the natural.
Oh!
And GuMiho, he sees this, he stims. That's going to force Solar to disengage. That's a lot of, I mean, this is so many Marines that we have here for GuMiho. And the fact that he was able to repel this counterattack attempt of Solar means that GuMiho might start getting a little bit more aggressive with the forward force that he has.
All right, he's going to morph some more down here. Kind of, what is going on with the rallies? He doesn't have stuff rallied out of his main?
GuMiho, you mean?
Yeah.
I think he's just afraid of the counterattack potential here with Beetling.
Okay. Well, this is pretty good. The mutas are going to come in here. What is going on with this army down in the bottom left? It's just sitting there on creep. It can be seen.
Infantry weapons gets denied. Luckily for GuMiho, that had just begun, so if he wants, he could cancel.
He's got Hellbats here. And I'm not so sure about this here for Solar. I mean, this base is going to go down.
And this is only like half of GuMiho's army, too.
Yeah.
GuMiho is so powerful right now. That's so many reinforcements streaming across the map. 92 Marines. Marines are being produced 13 at a time. And now the walls are starting to close in here for Solar. Solar, with the Mutalisk, is able to at least pick off one of these siege tanks. It's reinforcing, but all right, the big break coming through right now for Solar. Is charging with the Banelings on creep. Able to get good connections onto these Marines. The siege tanks also lapped up. But the reinforcements for GuMiho are going to be a big problem. There's still a lot of Marines standing here, Tasteless.
Yeah, he's going to try to push in again. And I think this could be the end. We got to see if these Banelings are going to finish and if they can connect to their targets. There's so many Marines here, even some unloading from this medevac. The base is so low. I think he's got enough. Yeah, well, hold on. Reinforcements are coming here. Whenever you see Lings and Mutas running away and there's still a huge amount of Marines, that's probably going to be, you know, a failed stopping the push. He's going to come in again. He kind of corners himself here.
Oh, Solar going for the fight right now, transfusing these Mutas, but there's just too many Marines, especially with the 2-2 upgrades coming through.
Oh, yeah, you can see a big sigh from Solar. He realizes this is probably the end. One of the worst runs in a GSL he's had. GG. GuMiho survives, and now he is going to have to redeem himself in the matchup TVP. I love these guys closing the Discord video right there. I just love it. They go, I lost. They just hang up the call.
Yeah.
Turn the camera off. I don't want to be on camera.
A bit of a frustrating moment, I think, here for Solar. I think we all know that he's capable of a much better performance than this, but yeah, 2-1 versus Classic, and then GuMiho honestly playing out of his mind at that TVZ. I will say that GuMiho's Terran versus Zerg looks really good from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, that was also, honestly, Solar looking pretty bad today. A rough run here for him. GuMiho's going to have his match against Classic guys after the short break.